Welcome to the Personal Pension Radio Podcast, where it's all about helping you complete your financial journey to retirement. Discover time-tested strategies and get unconventional insights into wealth building and retirement that actually work. Break away from the herd and go for the retirement you dream of. And now, here's your host, the income engineer, Kraig Strom.
All right, back on Personal Pension Radio. Thank you for joining me. Thank you so much. We've got some reviews on iTunes, some great emails to talk about today. Love the feedback. Please keep the questions coming. And if you haven't gone there to iTunes, I would really appreciate a review. The eggheads in the puzzle palace of iTunes, they really like reviews when it comes to making up all that math stuff for the podcast ratings. I am the income engineer, as you just heard. That is a registered trademark because I love the conversation around retirement income planning. The part that gets lost sometimes, though, is retirement income planning is not just one thing. There's so many different components that go into a retirement income conversation. What does retirement mean to you could be totally different than what it means to me, for example. Now, I am going to jump in right now because my mission is to help you look at the financial world differently. Hopefully break away from that Wall Street financial advisor mantras and this is the way we do stuff. It boggles my mind still to this day that there are so many financial advisors and financial planners out there that they are still doing things the way that they've been doing for 40 years. That's just the way it's been trained into them, and they continue to train generation after generation. And sadly, so much of that old mainstream way of doing things when it comes to retirement planning, when it comes to investment planning, when it comes to life insurance planning, you name it, it's just not been working. It has not been working. I mean, you just have to take one basic look at the baby boomer generation right now heading into retirement. It's probably one of the worst prepared group of people in a long time, in many, many decades, as far as being prepared for the retirement that they hoped for. And all of that was based on the financial advice that's been out there for the last 30 or 40 years. And here we are, just nonstop news about the retirement income and the retirement crisis in America, right? And yet nobody stops and looks in the mirror on Wall Street and says, hey, guys and gals, that stuff we've been basically setting up for everybody and teaching everybody and doing all that stuff for the last 30, 40 years, it doesn't look like people are really happy with it. Well, I'm here to tell you they're not. I am truly fighting that conventional wisdom, pushing uphill against that bad advice from financial entertainers, from financial advisors that have been trained by Wall Street. Because if we take retirement as an example, whatever retirement means to you, remember, my opinion on retirement has changed dramatically over even the last 10 years. Retirement has changed a great deal in the way I look at what retirement might be. But let's just take a traditional retirement conversation, right? Optimizing retirement income is really the goal, right? Why do we bother saving money in a 401k? Why do you give up enjoyment of that money for years and years and years? Is it so you can just buy a car someday when you retire or go on some short-term vacation to the Bahamas? Of course not. The whole idea was saving any money and foregoing the enjoyment of that money for retirement is income from those assets. And yet, when you talk to a typical financial advisor, Wall Street trained financial advisor, the answer to retirement income, which is what we want from our retirement savings, is invest, 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 right? Invest, invest, invest. And I'm here to tell you that maximum retirement income does not happen with investments. It doesn't happen with life insurance or 401ks or Roths or annuities or real estate. It happens with all of those things if you happen to have them in an integrated approach, an integrated strategy. And My goal is to give you hope for retirement, to give you the tools to prepare for maximum retirement income. Whatever your maximum income is supposed to be, you can't get there unless you actually have a strategy, unless you actually have a plan. And it's not a product, folks. Okay, it is not. Quick disclosure before diving in, I am not an attorney. I am not a certified public accountant. I am certifiable as a financial planning professional. All that being said, and as completely competent as I might sound here on my microphone, please don't act on things that you hear on my show as if you're hearing personal advice for you, because you're not. You've got to meet with me or another qualified financial planner to go deep into your specific situation before you act on any of these things. Please do that. And please, goodness me, do not act on things that you hear from financial entertainers. People who are not licensed, they're not regulated, people that just shouldn't be allowed to give out financial advice in 30-second sound bites. Just bugs the heck out of me. I guess you can probably get that. Now, quick shout out. I want to give a shout out to a listener from the U.S. working in Saudi Arabia. Thank you, Alejandro, for your question. I'm going to go over that in a little bit, but a shout out all the way out to Saudi Arabia. Really love that the world is so small nowadays. This podcast goes out and is listened to all over the world. It is just so cool. Now, I do have a deal of the week. Last week, I did mention my clearance wood, and I've started building my new garage doors. And yes, I am here in my workshop, and there's 2 doors standing up behind me and 2 more doors that are ready to go. If any of you follow me on Facebook, you can see pictures of the doors underway. Now, this week, I want to say 2 things. One, I am officially a big fan of AliExpress.com. I forget who had pointed this out to me or suggested it, AliExpress.com. And for those of you who don't know what that is, think Alibaba. Alibaba.com is a company that partners or pairs people who are looking for large quantities of specific items. Let's say that in my case, for example, let's say that I wanted to get a thumb drive, a computer hard drive, but I wanted to have my company information printed on the outside of the hard drive to give them away as a promotional item. Well, I could go to Alibaba.com and find a manufacturer who would give me a great price for 500 of those thumb drives. AliExpress is the shopping site for Alibaba manufacturers to sell one-off items to individuals like myself. I have to tell you, be careful. You could absolutely get lost over there because there's so many cool things. And I just love little gadgets. I love to save money. But there is a point in time when you realize, wait a minute, do I really need to buy that thing, right? Probably not. Most of the stuff that I've received, that I've purchased, has been items that I actually did want and use. I've only gotten 1 or 2 things that came in, and I thought, well, that was really smaller and cheaper than I thought it was. I should have paid attention. But keep in mind, AliExpress.com, most of these items that I'm personally looking at are very inexpensive and oftentimes have free shipping. They might take a long time to get here on a slow boat from China, but they are free shipping. So please, that's one of my deals of the week. Now, the second deal of the week is my Porsche. How is my Porsche a deal of the week? For those of you who listen long enough, you know that one of my hobbies is cars. I have a car show. I do it every Saturday, and I have a car dealership license. So I have a car dealership license, so I do buy and sell cars. I don't buy and sell a lot of cars. I don't have a big lot full of cars somewhere. But one of the cars that I have currently for sale is a Porsche. And my Porsche is something that I just love them, but I can't bring myself to pay retail, even used, to drive them around and depreciate them. So I love to find a really good deal on one, maybe bring it back up to its original luster, just with a little bit of tender loving care, and then sell it for more than I paid for it. That's the goal. And I do get to enjoy it while I'm waiting to find the next owner. Now, this particular car, I partnered with a local business owner, and he specializes in clear coats and clear bras, protective films for cars. So where they're basically putting either a clear film, like a nail polish, on your car to protect it and make it very, very easy to clean. He also puts protective film on cars that makes them impervious to rock chips and things like that. So that company is Premier Auto Armor, and partnered with him to take this little red Porsche that was very faded when I got it, had lots and lots of paint defects and swirls, and it was almost a pinkish color. It wasn't really that beautiful red because it had never been cared for properly. Now, once the treatment was done, that car just pops. It is so shiny, so beautiful. It is just fantastic. I had to hit the mute button because I was about to cough on what apparently is sawdust in my lungs because I am sitting here in my wood shop. I probably should have a big respirator on. But anyway, once the car was completed, it has this new clear coat. It's called a ceramic coating. Literally, like I describe it like nail polish on your car, only harder. So you don't wash the car the same anymore. You don't wax the car either. You don't wash or wax it in the same way ever again. So when the time came for it to be dusty and dirty enough, because it took a while to get dirty again because this clear coat just repels so much. But once it got dirty, I wanted to be very careful and mindful of how I wash the car. So I invited, on the recommendation of someone that I know, I invited a mobile detailing guy to come to my house to wash my car. Now, I never do that. I just never do it. I do pay for the car wash down in town to wash my truck because my truck is so big. Getting my truck done for $25, it's just worth it from the time that I save. Now, my little Porsche, I just didn't want to mess it up. So while the mobile detailer was washing my car, I paid close attention. I'm here to tell you, $50? Wow, way too much money for me. Could not do that. What I did was I learned that I'm never paying anybody to wash my car again because with the ceramic coating, all you do is lather it all up with suds. You don't really touch it. And then you use a power washer to spray it off. And then a blow dryer, literally a blower like a leaf blower, to just blow the water off because the ceramic coating is so smooth, the water just races off the car with the blower. And that's it. A little bit of work on the wheels, but no scrubbing, nothing like that, just a power washer. So I paid him the $50 and I went to Harbor Freight store, and I found a power washer, and I had a 25% off coupon. Got myself a little power washer for, I don't know, $75, something like that. And that will be paid for in 1.5 car washes. And I've been able to use it on some of my other vehicles, my Jeep outside. Now, that's my deal of the week. Yes, I wash my own car. I just can't stand the idea of paying somebody $50 to wash my car when they don't actually pull out a washcloth and wash the car. All right, enough said. Let me jump into segment 1. Watch your step. last week, I talked about buying term and disappointing your family. If you want to learn about life insurance from a different perspective, from a non-contemporary perspective, go back and listen to the last episode for sure. Now, this week, I got to tell you, patience is paramount when it comes to your parents' assets. Listen to that. Patience is extremely important when it comes to inheriting your parents' assets. So a son called me. He was introduced by his attorney, suggested call Kraig. So his attorney is not the type of attorney that we have in my company, the office that I work with. So different attorney. And the son called me to ask about the best way to transfer his mother's house into his name. Well, his mother's still alive, but she's getting up there in years. So he and his wife are planning to move into the house and share the caring for mom. Now, there are two other siblings who are okay with the move-in. The son thought he could buy the house from mom with a loan and cash out enough money to pay off brother and sister. And I said, whoa, wait a minute. Buying the house today from mom would generate a tax assessment for the son, and mom is single, and she'd probably end up with potentially a capital gain tax on the sale of the house at these high market rates in California. And there's no guarantee that you can get a cash out loan large enough to pay off the siblings. And money then transferred to the siblings today would be considered a gift and could potentially have to be reported on a gift tax return. Now, I suggested a legal solution instead. If mom got a living trust and got it all updated and rewritten a bit so that it would include a provision for her son to inherit the house, all the kids, the family would receive a stepped up basis. Now, stepped up basis means, let's say that mom bought the house for $50,000 100 years ago, and the house is worth now $750,000. Well, if you sell that house today while mom's alive, there's a big gain. There's a taxable gain. But if mom simply lives out her life and passes away with her house in a living trust, well, the kids receive a step up in the basis. What that means, instead of the $50,000 purchase price 100 years ago, the basis that we use to measure any gains steps up to the day mom passes away. So if the house is worth $800,000 when mom passes away, and they sell it for $800,000, well, that's it then. There's no taxes to pay because the baseline is, on the day she passed away, $800,000. It's called a step-up basis. So if the son is now named in the trust to receive the house, he could, right, also get credit for providing in-home care for mom. The other two siblings are too far away and unable to take time to care for mom the way son and his wife can. Care is expensive, right? And that care being provided by son and daughter-in-law should not go unreimbursed. Care services from son and daughter-in-law could be credited to the total value of the house that the son gets to keep in the future. Bottom line, a legal solution should always be considered in a planning situation. You work with the right kind of comprehensive financial planner, We're going to look at everything. We're not just going to look at, let's mortgage that thing, let's cash money out, let's do this. We're going to look at all the options. Now, segment 2, listener question. Last week I finished up part 3 of financial tips for kids. Financial tips for kids. And if you want to go back, thanks again, Dan, for the suggestion. Go back and listen to the last 3 episodes. I think some good feedback has come in. So I'll say some really good stuff in there to talk to your kids about financial stuff. This week is the listener question I mentioned earlier from Alejandro. Alejandro, U.S.-based, but U.S. Citizen, but out there in Saudi Arabia. He was pitched an indexed universal life. Actually, he was pitched 2 of them. Indexed universal life insurance is a type of life insurance that does have cash value, and it ties that increasing cash value to a stock market index. Now, for those of you who listen to the show long enough, I have not been a big fan of these types of life insurance policies. No one's ever been able to really explain to me where they fit, how they fit and why they fit. Full disclosure, I am working with somebody right now, just recently, that an indexed universal life might be the right fit. It might be. I'm open. I am looking at it. I am investigating it. It could be the right fit for this particular client. Now, in this case, Alejandro says that he has 3 years to retirement, that he spoke with a wealth manager. And I did look this person up. They are a wealth manager and insurance specialist or something like that. Okay, wealth management. Okay. Remember what I said there, that Alejandro has 3 years to retirement. And what was pitched was a life insurance policy that he would put $100,000 in 1 year. That's it. Single premium, $100,000. And the second policy that was illustrated was $60,000 for 5 years. So $300,000 total. Now, first and foremost, what did I say just a minute ago? Products are not the solution. I don't care if it's a whole life, if it's a universal life, it's an investment account, if it's whatever. It's not a solution if it's not tied to some kind of a strategy. But here's the thing that really catches my eye is that the first policy that was pitched was $100,000 year 1. Second was $300,000 over 5 years. Both of these policies would be considered a modified endowment contract. Modified endowment contract, or called a MEC, M-E-C, is a buzzword in the cash value life insurance world. That if it is a MEC, you lose some of the best tax-favored access and benefits that you can design into cash value life insurance, right? That when a life insurance policy is a MEC, if you take a loan or a withdrawal, it is taxable in the future. It's just, you lose, seriously, I'm going to say it differently. You ruin one of the best features of a properly designed cash value life insurance policy, the tax-favored access to it. Now, that's not to say that creating a modified endowment contract policy is an all bad idea. I'll give you an example of what I mean. A few years ago, an attorney introduced me to a widow. This widow had lost her husband. Her husband had been the one to always take care of the bills. Her husband took care of the bills and all the investments and the various retirement accounts they had and all of that. Well, he had gotten dementia and stopped taking care of any of that stuff. Well, when I met her, it was after she had been to her trust attorney to try and sort things out. When I met her, some of her investment accounts had taken some really bad losses because her husband had been out of it and he wasn't paying attention anymore. And she didn't know what to do, and she just never took care of it either. So one of her accounts, for example, was one that she really wanted to leave to her children. It was absolutely, in her mind, that was kind of her earmarked money for the kids. Well, it had been $5 or $6, I think about $600,000. It was a lot. Well, the market crashed, and that account was worth half, literally half of what it had been worth a year or so earlier. And it made her so sad because now she would divide that up. Instead of giving her kids, $200,000 each, she's now $100,000 apiece. That's it. She was just really sad. Now I asked her, I said, if we could give the kids the $600,000 when you die, would that be something we should try for? And she, of course, said right away, yes. So here's what I did. I went to multiple different life insurance companies looking at single premium universal life insurance. And I found a company that looked promising. And here's what ultimately happened. We transferred $300,000 one-time premium into a universal life policy. Not an indexed policy, nothing like that, just a standard universal life insurance. The death benefit is $600,000. Right at about $600,000. It is it's guaranteed by the claims paying ability of the life insurance company. Yada, yada, yada. But the death benefit will pay out when she leaves this world. It'll pay $600,000 income tax free to her kids. That's an amazing thing. That's powerful. She is so happy to know that money she'd always wanted to give to her kids, it's guaranteed now. There's no question. It will go to the kids. That is powerful stuff. Now, back to Alejandro's situation. Alejandro is going into retirement in 3 years, and his question sounds like, well, what do I do with this money and this money and that money? And we got this wealth advisor that's saying, well, let's stick that $100,000 over here into this life insurance policy, and don't mind this. We're going to basically ruin the major tax benefit of life insurance planning in your case. And in my opinion, 3 years is just not enough, right? It's just not enough time. Why would a wealth manager suggest an IUL, an indexed universal life, in this case? Now, this is just my opinion. Please, I don't know this person, probably never meet him. But the wealth advisor is what I'm saying. My opinion, it's compensation. Assets under management in an investment account, they offer just a small annual percentage. An indexed universal life single premium or $60,000 a year for 5 years offers a much higher compensation. Significant compensation, actually. It's very healthy compensation. Okay? That's just, again, my opinion. It's nothing wrong to earn a commission. I earn commissions all the time. I have assets under management. I earn those. I charge fees. Whatever makes sense. There's nothing wrong with it if the product fits the situation. And in my opinion, 3 years to retirement means that there are surrender penalties on these indexed universal life policies. Those are going to be an issue, right? And there's not enough time for these kind of things to ramp up and actually produce the results that are promised and hoped for. This is a perfect example of a financial advisor giving Dave Ramsey fodder for his attacks on any financial advisor who suggests cash value life insurance, or suggest anything that might be contrary to the Wall Street message that he preaches. there are reasons that Alejandro may want or need cash value life insurance. Until I dig into his specific situation, I cannot be sure. I am sure that the two policies being pitched are not right, in my opinion. They are not. Thank you so much for the question, and I look forward to talking with you soon. We're going to get together on probably Skype or WebEx. It's going to be good. Now, this week I want to finish with something. I want to finish with this topic that ran through my head multiple times this week. It's this idea of wealth and happiness. You see by the title of this episode, wealth and happiness, it just doesn't go together. I'm recording this episode within days of hearing that Kate Spade and Anthony Bourdain each committed suicide. That sounded really sad when I said it just now, and I guess it really is. I'm sure it goes without saying that I did not personally know either of these famous people. But when I heard the news about how they left this world, I immediately thought to myself, selfish. How could they do that to such young children? Then my thoughts turned inward, and I started asking myself, how could someone with so much money be so sad? And the answer is simple. We've all heard it before, but sometimes we just forget. We just choose to ignore it. I don't know. But the answer is simple, and it's so true. Money does not buy happiness. It just doesn't. It doesn't take care of it. It doesn't bandage that, whatever that is, right? I used to want to be wealthy. I used to want that. And now I am so much more, and not just this week, but in the last 10 years, I mean, seriously, as I watched my daughter grow up and I spent time with her, in the last 10 to 20 years, things have changed a lot in the way that I look at wealth. For me, wealth is that path towards happiness, security, comfort. Don't get me wrong. I still enjoy earning a good living and having nice things. Heck, I've got a Porsche in the garage, right? Come on. I love nice things. But what's changed is that I find happiness in uncovering ways to need less. Let me say that again. I find happiness in simplifying my life and uncovering ways to need less, to have less pressure. I like that my wife and I live a simple life. We don't need all these trappings of financial things or money things or expensive things. I know people who work so hard all the time. They make lots of money and they enjoy very little. I don't want to be that person, and I hope you take some inspiration from just my thoughts as I wrap up today's episode. Go find that bit of happiness that you might be missing because you're too busy looking for that thing that money doesn't buy, right? I mean, money is just not going to be the answer. In most cases, it's right in front of you or right around you. It's sitting on the couch next to you. They're playing on the floor in front of you. I don't want to be that person personally, and I hope you take that moment to reflect on what makes you happy, right? What doesn't make you happy, and try to find a way to uncover a way to not need that thing that doesn't make you happy anymore. I don't know if I'm saying it right. Folks, I love that you listen. I love that you send me emails. I love that you give me feedback. Those are the kind of things, and I think the reason that I continue to do this podcast. And if you find value in anything, and if you have comments on this and any other topic that I brought up today and other episodes, please send me that feedback. Kraig at kraigstrom.com. Kraig at kraigstrom.com. That's Kraig with a K at kraigstrom.com. And if you want to talk about your specific situation, the world is extremely small. We will Skype, we will WebEx, we'll use TeamViewer, we will get on FaceTime. Let's talk about your specific situation. I'll talk to you again soon. Take care.
Thank you for listening to the Personal Pension Radio podcast. If you missed anything during the show, that's okay. We took the notes for you. Check the show notes for links, offers, and a full transcript. And don't forget to head over to personalpensionradio.com and download your free retirement income report. While you are there, we would appreciate some iTunes love. Please leave us a fantastic rating on iTunes by going to personalpensionradio.com/iTunes. Thanks again for listening.
To the Personal Pension Radio podcast. If you missed anything during the show, that's okay. We took the notes for you. Check the show notes for links, offers, and a full transcript. And don't forget to head over to personalpensionradio.com and download your free retirement income report. While you're there, we would appreciate some iTunes love. Please leave us a fantastic rating on iTunes by going to personalpensionradio.com/iTunes. Thanks again for listening. Now for the disclosure. Information presented is for educational purposes only and is not intended for solicitation, sale or purchase of any security or financial product. Be sure to first consult with a qualified financial advisor and your tax professional before implementing any strategy discussed here. The term personal pension refers to a marketing name designed to educate future retirees and retirees about the economic principles behind creating their own pension-like income. The term personal pension is not intended to be confused with a defined benefit pension plan offered by an employer or by a government entity.